Well, what is going on, YouTube? Welcome back to A Therapeutic Edge. It's super nice to have you here today. I hope very much that you would take a minute and subscribe to the channel, and don't forget to like the video on the little button that's down there. That would help out quite a bit. On the table today in front of us, we've got something small, but something I like quite a bit. This is the Protech Calmigo. This is an excellent small knife. Now, it's not my only small little auto. I also have the Launch 4, which is a very popular California legal auto. I like the Calmigo, there we go, quite a bit more. They're both just at or just under 2-inch blades, which keeps them legal in California. And while the 4 here is a well-designed and excellent knife, the Calmigo is much more comfortable. Both are simply 3-finger knives for me. I mean, there's very little I can do about that, but the 4's design, because of the lean end of this handle here, my fingers kind of slide off the back, whereas the Calmigo has a much more traditional knife handle shape that locks me in very, very well. So is this a primary carry for me? No. Nope. But as a 5th pocket knife or a backup knife, the little Calmigo here is just excellent. And it comes with a lovely deep carry pocket clip, which means it slips in and out of my back pocket, which is where I carry it very, very well. It does have a lock, so you can lock it open like that, excuse me. And you can lock it closed as well, which is a very nice feature. And it's very snappy. It's aluminum scales. It is 154 cm blade steel, which they are very enamored with over there at Protech. I'm totally happy with it. I love a good stainless, and it holds an edge very, very well. As I said, it has a lovely deep carry pocket clip. The aluminum scales are well done. This is just, in general, a superb little knife. Well, how little is it? Well, as I said, you get under 1.9 inches of cutting on just at 2 inches of 154 cm. The handle length, now it's a little weird because you can come up if you want to, but there is a choil here which sort of puts your finger in a natural spot back here. If I move all the way up to the blade, this is a 4-finger knife for me, but that's yeah, you're better off back here a little bit. Oh, excuse me, back here a little bit. So if I stay back here, it is a 3-finger, but very comfortable 3-finger knife for me. So let's take a look at the handle size. If you ignore the danger of the blade right here, you're at 3 1/4. If you come to the choil, you're at 2 1/2, which is just slightly under 3 of my fingers, right? So it really kind of depends on where you want to hold it. I end up holding this knife this way a lot, because I do a lot of draw cuts mostly with something like this. Is a package opener for me, right? Package and boxes and tape, stuff like that. The knife overall comes in at a whopping 5 1/4, a little over 5 1/4, yeah, 5 1/4 inches. So it is, as I said, it's a tiny boy, but well done. It really is. Let's do some size comparisons with knives you may have had around. Here's against the Rat Model 2, and as you can see, the Rat 2 is just enormous by comparison, which means, of course, oh, excuse me, that's my dog having a moment, which means by comparison, of course, the Rat Model 1 is just right. I mean, you can just about, right. It is, but it's supposed to be a small knife. I've said this before. I've spent a lot of time talking about how I don't really like small knives, but I think it's important to point out that every once in a while, a small knife comes along that absolutely serves a purpose for me and is well made in such a way that makes it an excellent knife, right? Whereas the Launch 4, again, great little knife, but it's just not quite for me because of the handle shape. The Calmigo is. I very much enjoy this thing. These are not inexpensive, and they can be hard to find. This is one of the problems with Protech in general, as far as I'm concerned. Now look, it's not their fault. They are a small company based out of California. They manufacture as much as they can, but they basically have to run small batch because they are a small organization. This isn't Spyderco, this isn't Benchmade, this isn't the big three, with big factories pumping out, hundreds of knives at a time. And that's just something you kind of have to come to terms with. If you want something like this, it's going to take both a little bit of patience and a little bit of persistence, because otherwise they are kind of hard to find. But they're worth it. I've had a bunch of Protechs come through the channel, and I own a couple of Protechs that I intend to keep, the Calmigo being one of them, of course. These are excellent pocket knives. They really are. Let's go ahead and weigh it out. Excuse me while I reach for my stuff. I don't think this is going to be that heavy. In fact, I'm very sure this is going to be very, very light. The little Calmigo weighs in at 2.2 ounces for a 2-inch blade, so it's right at that ounce per inch for blade length, which people really enjoy for EDC. Again, it's just really well made. This one happens to be number 199. There you go. I don't know how many they made. My guess is 250, something like that. Let's go ahead and get the scale out of the way. See what kind of blade stock we're working with. All right, blade is, we'll do, all right. The blade is 2.81 millimeters, so under 3 millimeters. Now, it is a drop point with a bit of a saber grind, although, as you can see, it comes all the way up. So it's got this flat right here, and then the rest of the blade. So even it's almost 3 millimeters. It's not as thin as it could be. This, I think, actually could have been, well, I don't know why I can't stay on camera. I think this would have been served pretty well having even slightly thinner blade stock or a high flat grind, right? An entirely flat grind to give it the best possible potential for a tiny edge. And yet, because it is thick, it stays robust out to the tip. Now, I don't recommend doing push cuts or stabbing anything ever with a knife this small, just because it's very hard on the hand. But because it's got a nice robust tip on it, if you really wanted to, you could put this thing to some serious work. Now, I've had this knife for quite some time. There is no blade rock, no blade play, which can happen with automatics. The spring remains exceptionally snappy. I do love the action on this thing. It is a ton of fun to use. So far, there's a little mark here, and it shows a little pocket wear, but I got to tell you, the coating that they put on their aluminum scales, this knife has survived being in my back pocket very well, and that is important. When you spend over $100 on a knife, particularly a small knife, you're going to want something that is reliable and durable, and the Protech Calmigo here is all of those things mixed in with what I think of as a really nice sense of style, which, look, I know for some of you, style is irrelevant. This is a working tool. It needs to work. I don't care how it looks. I'm not that person. Because I am a collector, knives not only have to do all of those things, they have to work, and they have to, they have to work, but they also have to look a certain way and feel a certain way for me to want to keep them in the collection. The Launch 4 never really caught me that way, even though it is probably equally as useful as the Calmigo. A combination of the design aesthetic, which I'm not really in love with, and like I said, the slip off the back handle shape, meant that this knife never really found a place in my pocket, even though, and look, it's well made. They're less than $100. This is Kershaw, absolutely doing what they do best, and I wish that the rest of Kershaw knives were made to the same fit, finish, and quality as their Launch series and the same blade steel. I really do. But because of those little issues, it never quite found a spot in my rotation. And then the Calmigo came along and absolutely found a spot in my rotation. Now, I don't often carry a backup knife. It's not necessary for me. But if I am hiking or camping or, just out in a place where I know that I'm going to, have needs for more than one blade, or I just want something just in case, that's where the Calmigo really steps in. I guess really that's where we're going to leave it. This is, well, look, Protech, as I said a few minutes ago, does a fantastic job. This is no exception. If you find yourself looking for a small backup knife, a fifth pocket knife, or if you're here in California and you're looking for something that is legal for you to carry, the Calmigo is a combination of design and aesthetic and price and function that I think you should definitely look into. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any questions about the Calmigo or, any of my knives, feel free to ask down in the comments below. We'll see you next time.